Welcome to Anchor Moments. I'm Gina Benz, and I'm here with my very best friend.
Again.
2 weeks in a row. What luck to be able to do another show with my husband, because we have a lot of tips. The tips that we're going to be giving are how to be happily married for a very long time.
Oh, happily?
Happily!
Okay, yes.
Happily married for a very long time. Some of the tips we're going to tell you today, we're going to talk about the 5 love languages, how important it is to try to speak in as many of them as you can, but especially if you're just going to do one, it needs to be the one that your spouse is their language, because if you're missing their language, it can be really sad. So we're going to talk about those. We're going to talk about how to fight fair. And, usually when you learn to fight, you want to fight to win, but you also want to keep your marriage and to be happy.
You want your marriage to win.
You want your marriage to win. And when you're married, face it, there's going to be times you're going to fight.
Right.
So
just part of being human.
Part of being human. So if you like this show and you didn't see our part 1, go ahead and watch that, because we had a bunch of tips in that one too.
We have 12 altogether.
That's right.
And we talked about 6 last time, but we missed one by accident.
We did miss
so
one.
So maybe we should start with that one?
With that 6th one. Yeah. One of the things we talked about, and just like, let's just go real brief, real fast of what they were.
So tip number 1, make a commitment to death do us part.
Right.
And mean it.
And mean it.
Number 2, but if there's harm or violence, God does not want you to stay in an abusive relationship, to get out, get to safety. Mm-hmm. Number 3, pray together.
That's right.
Invite God into your marriage. You lead your spouse to Christ, and your spouse can lead you to Christ. Mm-hmm. It's a 3-person commitment.
There you go.
Engaged encounter, but it doesn't have to be called engaged encounter. There's other different religions might have, or different denominations might have something similar. Talk about the important things that you're going to be facing in your marriage before you get married. Mm-hmm.
Like, do you want to have children? How many children would you like to have? How are you going to do your finances? What are you going to do for division of chores?
What bugs you about the other person?
What bugs you about the other person?
What are your traditions, your values, etc.? Okay.
And what kind of things you like to do for the holidays with different families? How are you going to work that out? And it's good to work that out before you get married if you can.
And number 5 is the one we accidentally skipped last time, sorry. It's
we
don't
did.
Go to bed angry with your spouse.
Oh.
And we got a little story to go with that.
Yes.
We'll talk about that in a minute. And then number 6 was we said take a personality test, but it could be, learning about the personality of the other person. And a good way to do that is through something like the Myers-Briggs test, which is in a book called Please Understand Me, if you wanted to find a good book about that. Mm-hmm. The Enneagram, right. That's a book too, right?
Yeah, the Essential Enneagram, I think was the one that I read. But there's a lot of Enneagram books.
And the last piece that we touched on, but we didn't quite talk about, was Clifton's Strengths Finder. So should we talk about number 5 first? Don't go to bed angry first, and then we'll get into
then we'll go into Clifton's Strengths
Don't
Finder.
You think?
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Why not?
Well, let me tell you. Once you have kids, and those of you who already have had kids, you know this already, they exhaust you. And especially when they're a baby.
And they're crying a lot and whining.
When Gina, when we had our first child, she was breastfeeding.
Oh, we were both school teachers,
and we were both working full time.
Yeah.
And so you're dealing with like 30 kids during the day. You dealing with 30, and I'm dealing with 30. Anyway, but we come home and we'd be tired already also. But she was breastfeeding, and my part of the chores was when the baby was crying in the middle of the night, my job was to go up and get the baby and bring the baby to you. Mm-hmm. And then you'd feed the baby, and I would almost fall asleep, and I said, Jeff, go take the baby back. Okay. And then so my job was to go take the baby back. And sometimes this would happen more than once during the night.
Right.
So
or that would be okay, but sometimes, because that was really quick, because he would sleep while I was feeding the baby. So, and I was awake feeding the baby.
I don't even remember,
and
it's a blur.
But it was a blur. But our baby got a little colicky. And so then there was a lot of cry time. So it wasn't just drop her
Right.
back off in the in
That's
her
right.
room in her crib, and there was cry time where you had to walk. You know, we had to take turns walking back and forth trying to get the baby to stop crying.
I think-
Neither of us can sleep because the
I think
baby's
my mind
screaming.
kind of blotted that
Oh
out.
my gosh! It was
But,
so in the beginning it was really tough.
Yeah. So we're both exhausted, in other words. And I remember one night we were up, it was the middle of the night, and I was so exhausted, and the baby's crying, and I'm snapping at you because I'm stressed, and you're snapping at me back, and we're angry with each other. And one of the things that people told us before we got married, during our
people
engagement
who
encounter,
were
I think, right?
happily married for
For a
many
long
many
time,
years.
was don't go to bed angry with your spouse. Well, I was in no mood to be like making up with her because here's all the, I'm exhausted and stressed, and so were you. And one of the gifts that we got for the baby shower that we hadn't looked at the entire time was this comic, a book of comics from Baby Blues. And it was laying on the coffee table, I think, and I'm just mad, and I'm sitting on the couch, and I see that book there, and I pick it up, and I start reading it, and oh my gosh, this is what we're going through right now, and oh my gosh, yes, this is exactly right, and it was hilarious. And then I'm sharing it with her, and she's reading it too, and we're both laughing, and sometimes humor is just what you need in order to turn that around and not go to bed angry.
Yep, and remember why you love each other.
Right.
And
And it was nice to know that other people are going through the same kind of problems that we were going through.
So we read this book a lot
Yeah. We got
when our
two
kids,
more in the
kids
series.
were
Yeah,
little.
Absolutely.
And there was many a time that we would fight even before we had kids. But we
That's
knew
true.
that we were not going to bed and we were not going to get any rest until the fight was over. So that way we could kiss, make up, and go to sleep.
And sometimes you're there, it's middle of the night, come on, just, you want them to bend and they want you to bend, and finally you just say, oh, I'm so tired, can we just be, make up? And so we did, and that's very good advice, because you don't want something to fester all night long.
No,
And fester
and to
the next
fester for
day.
days and weeks and months.
Right.
You need to be able to take care of it. Sometimes the things that you might be fighting about in the beginning of a marriage is little things.
And
And little things
they
can be
say
annoying.
the piling up of all the little things is what causes a lot of people to get divorced. It's not necessarily the big things, it's a whole bunch of little tiny things. Oh, this bugs me, oh, that bugs me, or like,
So like
Such
for
as.
Jeff, such as, one of the things that used to bother Jeff is the toilet paper. His family, he grew up where the toilet paper was put on the roll like this.
The right way.
So you pull, it's on the top where you pull down.
so you can see where it is.
My family, it's the opposite way. The toilet paper, the roll is this way, and it's so easy because it's already hanging down, and you just go like this, and it rolls so much nicer to be done that way.
Speaking of rolls, another thing that she does
No,
is that when the toilet paper tube's almost empty or gets empty, she
I
gets
change it all the
a
time.
new toilet paper tube instead of putting it right on the roll. She sets it right on top.
I
So when I
fixed
reach
that
over
now.
to pull on the toilet paper, the whole toilet paper roll went to the
that
floor.
was
Anyway,
years ago. I don't do that anymore.
but you know what?
But we learned that
Exactly.
it was that distressful to Jeff that it was like, all right, fine. I will do it the wrong way, and I will do it so it's on the top going over, and it worked. Another one we had to change, though, is toothpaste. We used to share the same tube of toothpaste. Shouldn't be a big deal. But for Jeff, he likes to roll the tube from the bottom so it squeezes every last little bit before it gets to the top. Now, for me, I'm in a hurry. I'm getting ready for work. I would just pick up just squeeze it wherever. Toothpaste comes out. It takes a second. And that used to just infuriate Jeff that I'd mess up his little roll because I'd just squeeze.
You know what? But it's little things like that that will annoy the other person, and And I think what happens is people
You
will
know what
think,
we did with this one?
wait,
We each have our own tube of toothpaste
right.
now.
So it's a simple
So
solution.
it's a simple solution.
And it
He
solves the
has
whole
his,
problem.
I have mine, because I'm always going to just squeeze it, and he's always going to roll it. I
Or-
roll it when it's almost out.
Now,
But,
also,
yeah.
like for instance, I always put down the toilet seat.
Which is really nice.
And so it's a thing like that, though. Like
But he
getting,
had to learn that too.
but getting another toilet paper, toothpaste tube, so we both have one, or putting down the toilet seat. It's little things you can also do for each other that can show that you care about the other person. So if you run into those things that, oh, this really bothers me, or that really bothers me, or these little tiny things keep piling up, maybe that's an opportunity for you to make the decision to do the one little thing that can be like a present for you. I'll do this
Yeah.
for you.
There you go. And so I do the toilet paper the way he likes as a present to him.
And I put down the toilet seat.
There you go. There you go. There's only one thing I do that annoys him that I'll never change, and I've done it for 30 years. But do you know that some people are really worried about how you twist the bread? You know, when you
The
take
twist tie.
a
The
twist
twist
tie,
tie.
when you open up a loaf of bread and you pull out a thing and you have to twist
know
it
what?
up.
You know
I
what?
always twisted, I guess, the wrong way, but I didn't know there was a right way.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Clockwise to tighten, counterclockwise to loosen.
I just tell him one day I'm going to
It's-
be dead, and you'll be so happy when you open up your bread. Or maybe you'll miss me and go, oh.
But again,
I
you know
miss
what?
Gina. She always used to twist that wrong.
You're right. If you die before me, I'll say, oh, I used to miss how I had to undo it the wrong way. Anyway, but it's the little
Whatever.
tiny things that you can let pile up, or you can use them as an opportunity to do something nice for the other person too.
Right.
And eventually, maybe she'll
often
twist
anymore.
the twist tie the right way. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. So, do you
All
want
right.
to talk about the?
Oh, personality test.
And we missed the.
Because we missed the Clifton
Clifton
Strength
Strengths
Finder,
Finder,
which
yeah.
is also an excellent personality test. What's really nice about it is there's 35 strengths, and when you take this test online, it tells you what your top 5 are. And so it's just so wonderful, and you can celebrate what the top 5 strengths are for each other.
Now,
and
why-
it saved our marriage too, taking that test. And that was later when I took that test at church.
Maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah, maybe more like, 10 to 15 years ago. And so about halfway through our marriage. And at the time,
So far.
so far, my husband was buying musical instruments all the time on eBay and always like collecting these musical instruments. And he would play some for like a little bit. He'd learn like a little bit, and then he'd want to buy another instrument. And I remember being frustrated by that. And I was like, Jeff, why are you doing this? We don't have a very big house. We don't have a lot of place for all these instruments, and it's kind of expensive. I think it's ridiculous. Why don't you learn how to
Actually,
play
they-
one of these
they were
better
pretty cheap, you're
before
right. Got
you?
them on eBay.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them were pretty cheap, but it was just weird, and I didn't understand. Well, when I went and took the Clifton Strength Finder test at our church, and I even got trained to be a facilitator to do it for other church members, and we had we do a 6-week class. So it was really pretty cool
And then
on
I
your
took it.
strengths. And I had Jeff take it, and it was amazing. I found out that he's a learner, and that's in his top 5. And being a learner is in his DNA. And it's not that he has to know everything. It's not the end result that's exciting. It's the process of learning that's exciting. So when he's learning an instrument, maybe he learns just a little bit. That might be good enough, and now he's bored. And then a different instrument, it's a whole new way to learn how to play it. And that's really exciting to him to get a little farther. And when I discovered that,
Was that when we got 3 French horns?
well, yeah, we had 3 French horns at the time. Oh my goodness, because one was a double French horn. Oh,
Anyway.
But anyway, we had all these instruments. But then I realized how important it is for Jeff to be learning. And Jeff sometimes can battle depression, but if he's learning something, he is never depressed when he's learning something, ever. He is the happiest little guy ever when he's learning something. And then I was able to embrace that. So we have lots of instruments, though I did ask him, it'd be so nice if you could learn to play something well enough that you could play it and we'd really all enjoy listening to
And
it.
now I have.
And now he has. And now he's really great with the ukulele. And he's an excellent singer and has always been an excellent singer. And it also helps him with when I found out when we were first in, before we were even engaged, Jeff made me take the Myers-Briggs test. And we found out that he was an introvert. And well, he knew he was an introvert. But I didn't understand what it is to be an introvert because I've always been an extrovert. And I was able to understand him a little more. Well, Jeff doesn't like going to parties because it's so much work doing small talk and it exhausts him. But for me, it's really fun. I love getting to know other people. It gives me tons of energy. I get more energy as the party goes on and Jeff gets less and he doesn't like to go for very long. However, if we have a party at our house and he plays the ukulele and sings songs and he is the background music, he loves that. He can play songs for hours and we can have a long party with our friends invited and family and have a wonderful time, and it gives him something to do and it makes him really happy. But learning these things about each other, if I'd not known that being a learner was so important and why, and that it wasn't just, oh, I need to know everything. No, it's the process of learning that's exciting and the spice of life for him. If I didn't understand that, that would have been really sad. And now I do, and I really get that about him. Yeah. Jeff also, and it's not one of our numbers, but it should be a number. You always want the best. Always want the best for your loved one, and you want them to be to have joy in their life, and you want them to, anytime that you can help them pursue a dream, you can do that. And Jeff did that for me, but for him, I'm helping him, doing the toilet paper right, and because that really bothers him, and making sure he can learn instruments or find things that he can learning foreign languages, all kinds of stuff. If he's learning, he's just so happy. So making sure that he can do that. Well, he did something really wonderful for me. When I was sad after I was laid off from a job, and I talked about that in another show, but I was so sad. And he told me, Gina, we can live on one salary. Because when we had one child, I was a working mom. When we had our second child, I became a stay-at-home mom because, So
we learned how to live on less.
So we learned how to live on less and how to make it. And he was like, we can make it with just the one salary, Gina.
So what she's talking about is when she got laid off from her job, I told her, you know what, you always wanted to write this book? Mm-hmm. Go ahead, take it. You have the opportunity now to do it. Yeah. Just do it. Right. And it's led to so many different opportunities as well.
That's how I got my Anchor Moments book, book written, and it started my Anchor Moments show. And Jeff has been such a wonderful, supportive husband helping with that, and just very beautiful. I think we need to talk about
number 7.
Okay.
Let's go on to number 7.
All right, number 7. Okay.
Number 7 is spend time together every day. And it may be virtual, you may have to call on the phone or something like that, depending on what your situation is. Now, Gina and I am lucky enough to be very close to my, where I work. And we live very close to home. So we have lunch together every day. Now, not everybody can. But you know what?
And every now and again, there's a day that we don't, but most days a month, we have lunch together.
And I was thinking about this in relation to like the stories in the Bible of when Jesus did miracles and things. And he always used to seem to do these things surrounded by feeding them, and being together with a meal, and even the Lord's Supper, it's, you call forth a little church of the home when you eat together as a family. Mm-hmm. And it's something that can bind you together in God's love.
Yeah. And even when I worked part-time at the YMCA, we would have...
I used to, she only had a half-hour break?
Yeah, no, 20 minutes.
20 minutes. So I ran over from my work, I went to Wendy's, got a little tiny bit, and then took her some takeout, and we would just eat together for 20 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he had an hour lunch, so he was the one who would go get the takeout, and he would meet me there, and then I would clock out the second I would see him, and we would spend 20 minutes together, having lunch, because it was so important that we had some time that we could connect. And also, when I'd worked at the YMCA, they had a child watch. So when you work out, you could put your child in there, but you couldn't leave the building. Sometimes we would have dates, like on the weekend when I wasn't working, and we would purposely put our son, who was a toddler at the time, in the child watch, so we would have a little bit of time that we could spend with each other.
That's
and
so important,
and have
because when you
lunch.
have kids, they suck so much of your time and energy that you have to make sure that you also spend time, set the time aside to have like a date night with your spouse
Which is
or
really
your
important.
significant other.
Okay.
Let's see, so we did number 7, spend time together each day. Number
8.
8.
United front with the kids.
Yes. Now, kids are not trying to be evil. They aren't trying to divide and conquer, but they have certain things they want. And there's a lot of temptation for them to go, ask mom. Say, oh, mom said no, let's go ask dad. Or vice versa, ask dad. Dad said no, let's go ask mom. Because maybe I can get what I want that way. And it's like I say, it's not them trying to be bad, it's just the way human beings are. They kind of are looking for a way to get what they want or need. So,
That's right. So you want to be a united front.
and we talked about this before we got married.
Right.
Because that was some advice that we got, that if we have a different opinion about something and what the decision should be, if you've already made a decision, I'm going to support you. And if I've already made a decision, you support me, right?
That's right.
Okay, so we
That's
support
right.
we support each other.
That's
and
right.
if we want to discuss it later on, then we would go and make a decision or update
Right.
or whatever.
Absolutely.
But
We're starting to run out of time, Jeff.
Oh,
And
I'm sorry.
We're only on, we just did 8, and we have 4 more that are really huge.
Okay. United
and I
front with
promise
the kids.
people, so united front with the kids. And number 9 is the 5 love languages, and this one's so important. There are 5 different ways that you can show that you love somebody, and somebody can show that they love you. And one of those 5 is your primary way that you would like to receive love and to give love. And I have seen it happen. I had a girlfriend who first told me about this. She had just gotten divorced, and she did not know about the love languages while she was fighting in her marriage. And when it was over, it was so sad for her when she discovered it, because her husband, one of his 5 was doing things for you. So he didn't do any of the other
so
ones.
let's list the other ones.
Shall we
so-
list them?
Yeah.
We'll list them all real quick. So the 5 love language, number 1 are gifts. Some
Gifts.
people are amazing gift givers. They like to give a thoughtful present, and they like to receive a thoughtful present. My son, he's an incredible gift giver. He gave my husband.
I have been talking about someday buying a van and turning it into an RV. I really want this van. I'm watching these videos on YouTube about vans, and my son knew this, and he gave me a Christmas present. He gave me my own little van.
Yeah, and it was while I was writing my book, and
It's
he gave me
it's
a
just the kind
specialty
that I
pen.
want, too.
He said it's for signing your books, Mom.
Anyway,
it was so sweet.
There's the gift giving.
So gift giving, words of affirmation. Some
affirmation.
people like to hear, "I love you,"
I love
and
you
and
too.
I'm proud of you, and I love when you do such and such or whatever, and are really good at saying that. Actually, affirmations, that's the one I like. I like hearing that you love me. And I'm
love you.
very good at letting my children know that I love them and I'm proud of them. And I give them a reason why. I'll catch them being good, and I'll tell them that I love them and I'm so proud of them in that particular thing of whatever it is they were doing that was awesome. The third one is hugs and touch.
Hugs and touch, yeah.
And I know that's a big one, is one of the big ones for Jeff, because if he comes home for lunch, he needs a hug before he goes back to work. I mean, it's always very important to him. And if I'm awake before he goes to work, he wants a hug before he leaves the house. So I know hugs and touch is super important
Now,
to Jeff.
the one that I like to do for her is doing things for her.
Right, that's
And-
another strong one for him. And that was the one that my girlfriend, her ex-husband, that's how he showed love. He never told her really very often at all that he loved her. He never gave her gifts. He wasn't a big hugger. But his big thing that he really did like, that he did for her, is he would make her coffee in the morning. And sometimes he'd make it before he went to bed because he knew she would like to have a fresh cup of coffee in the morning. And that was a way that he showed
we need to kind of
love.
So you got to find the one that
You got to find
is the primary one that you're.
And the last one, so doing things for you. So
And then also, like we mentioned already, spending time together.
spending time together is one of the 5 love languages.
Where you can show that you love the other person.
Right, is wanting to spend time with them. Now we just have 2 minutes left, Jeff.
Oh my goodness gracious.
It went so fast. But the 5 love languages, if you can do a little bit of each of them, you're going to hit whatever one is the most important one for your spouse. But if you can figure out what theirs is and they can figure out what yours is, if you can specifically try to do the one that's important to them, then they're never starving for it. Right. But if you do 4 out of 5, but that 5th one is the way that they like to give and receive love, then they feel lonely. That there's there's a hole, and you want to help fill that because you love them and you want them to know that you love them. So those 5 love languages. There's a book on it, a lot of things on it on the internet. Look it up. They're wonderful.
Now I'm going to talk about this next one, number 10. Maybe we'll just stop at 10.
We'll stop
talk
at
about
10.
others later because here's something that people are confused about. Love is not a feeling. Love is an emotion, and it's a decision. Emotion means putting something into action, into motion to make something happen. Feelings are fleeting, like you're hungry, you're tired. I feel sad, I feel whatever. You know what? But love is actually making a decision to do something for the good of someone else. My son came home from school one day. Oh, shoot.
We have 33 seconds.
It's not enough time to pray. I'll have to come back.
Love is a decision.
A decision, not a feeling.
And it's a decision for them to always be your best
Dear
friend.
God.
Oh, and then with fighting, no personal attacks or name calling. And number 12, don't bring up old arguments into a new fight. 15
Dear God,
seconds.
please bless everyone who's watching today and help them have the most wonderful relationship with someone giving and receiving love.
That would be beautiful.
Amen.
Amen.
Thanks.
God bless all of you.
The preceding program was brought to you by the Holy Spirit Broadcasting Network, HSBN Television.
Thanks for watching. Please click to subscribe and click the bell to be notified when we post new Anchor Moments videos.